that caused the bees to fly up rather than over to the neighbor's house is definitely appropriate, simply because we'd rather they disperse, but I have more problems with bees at my house than I had in that particular field. So I'm not opposed. I think that if someone wants to keep bees and they make provisions so that their neighbors aren't inundated with bees, then I would be in favor of that.
Anyone else?
Well, I know that there's one other person in town who has bees already, three lives, if I count correctly. And I'm assuming that they're, by not saying anything, past councils have adopted that and said, that's okay. Now that's an assumption, obviously. I wonder if there are other hives in town that we don't even know about. If we were to close down these in the city, we have to close them down as well. My feeling is that in the past, even though the ordinance doesn't include these, that we, as a community, must have a community down and say, yeah, they're okay. So I'm in favor of having them with limitations. I noticed that in the document from where is this from? I can't remember. Holland, they said that you have to have 11,000 square feet to have one hive. I read that.
I don't think that's what it says.
Did I not get that? Pardon me?
You can have two of them if your property is under 11,000 square feet. To have more than two, you've got to have more than 11,000 square feet.
Our current city lot would be approximately 8,712, 6,632.
Very good.
Mr. Hawkins?
Well, I can understand why some people may not want bees next to their house, especially if they got children that are allergic to bees. But I know some people that were definitely allergic to them that they actually got over their allergy by getting stung by the bees. So,
As a matter, I do not support that particular course of treatment for anyone. Let's just.
I know an apiary that has that.
Okay.
There's a difference between the honeybee stinger and other bees.
Okay.
Big difference.
And they actually make a homeopathic remedy, which we ain't going to get
Well,
into that, but
Okay,
that's
well,
the second.
let's stay on
But
topic here.
I think if we allow them to have beehives, which I'm not against, we should have them try to do it close to the center of the property so that the bees are not as annoying to the neighbors. Because I know, me and most of my family, if we had a neighbor that had things that irritated our family or our pets or whatever, if we put up a fence, they'd probably be sprayed open, stuff like that. Some sort of deterrent to keep them coming from our property. And the beekeeper is not going to be happy when their bees are dying at the edge of their property because they were sprayed. So then now you've got another problem. Who's going to be right in that case? So I would suggest that we try and have them keep it closer to the center of their property. Because the honeybees do a lot for our environment.
Hey, here. Ms. Powell, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I just think if we're going to have bees in the city, in these tight quarter residential areas, we need to set up a system so that, I don't know who's got bees besides Mr. Frank who came in and thought at least to ask, that the whole neighborhood should be protected from the bee issue, like if you had 6 chickens or 25 chickens, it has to be some kind of a permit. And like I also read that the actual hives should be protected from dogs and kids from throwing stuff at, which would irritate those bees and maybe cause a disaster. But I think if we're going to allow bees keeping in the city, they are animals, they're not pets, it's usually in an agricultural area, that it will have to be a permitted system to make sure that it's safe for the neighbors and the neighbors' pets environment, but it can be a nuisance, and if anybody's ever gone down the Morley Park, when the bees are out, and they're all over you. I know there's lots of wild bees in that park, and it's very irritating. So I think it's been brought to our attention, and we should look at the American Initiative Beekeeping Association's guidelines. For those folks who aren't bringing bees into the city, they should be followed and permitted. However that works.
So you are in favor of moving forward, or?
I would like us just to look at it, like we did the chicken deal, and see how the whole council feels and the neighborhood feels, like Joe's neighbors or anybody's neighbors, to say, yeah, I'm living next to a beehive and I'm not real happy about it. So, and maybe something to look at.
Mr. Grove?
There's a couple of things that have been said that I kind of disagree with. One is Councilor's assumption that it was accepted in the past simply because they're there, that it's acceptable. I think the absence of knowledge of something and not taking action on it doesn't equate to being an acceptance of. It's just an absence of knowledge of. It's been brought out on more than one occasion that a fence, a higher fence where the bee has to go up, to go over, sounds good, but what goes up comes down. If there are flowers and stuff on the other side of the fence, they will come up and over and into the flowers or whatever. That's what they're looking for. Okay? I mean, that's what they're designed for. I understand that honeybees are not aggressive unless there's a threat to their hive, or if you're doing something like setting on them, then I might bite somebody in the butt too if they tried something on my head. But I'm not totally opposed to it, but I agree with Councilor Powell in that we need to have some kind of a system to know where they're at, and a system where we then find out if there's a problem with a neighbor who's being stung frequently. We could go back and say, well, maybe this isn't working out well. You're right. You know, honeybees are not aggressive, but their sting does hurt. And a sting from a honeybee will cause and affect any person who has an allergy for it, same as any other bee, and it could be life-threatening. So I think if we were to do this, I guess as a hardliner, I'd say no, they belong in the country. But at the same token, I know they're all over the place. So I think we could take a look at it and see what it is. I just feel there has to be some regulations as to how, where, and how many can be kept there.
Thank you. I also agree, we need some type of control, because we have one lot, they put 20 hives on it. We need to restrict the number. I think Ms. Paul brought up a good point. Have some information from American beekeepers or Michigan beekeepers. This ordinance that we have in front of us from Holland has some good information in it. I guess is what I'm hearing, and Mr. Womack's correct me, is that the council is kind of in favor, but we want some more information to make an ordinance.
I'll bring some additional information back to you guys next month.
And I guess for now, and the persons that have the bees, where do we go from there?
Since the council is still open to the idea of allowing them, I think it's appropriate to allow the bees to remain, at least for the time being. And we'll see where we go next year.
As I talked to Mr. Frank earlier, he is agreed to move his hives out. And we haven't heard anything from his neighbor that complained about it.
Just Paul, I did send you guys an email.
Yeah, the letter. We have two.
And I obviously had a sit-down meeting with both parties. I just haven't transmitted all of the comments.
Yeah. I think for the sake of this meeting and informational taking in, I don't want to have the neighbors come here to have them put on the spot or anything. I think if they have any comments, that they would just kind of send them to the city manager. And that way we can get some more information on it so we can make an intelligent decision when we have to. Sound good? Thank you. You okay, Mr. Frank, with that? We can get a little...
Thank you. I plan on even thinning it down a little bit because they've been growing at a really good rate. And I plan on thinning that down actually this weekend. It's kind of good to have them managed.
Yeah.
A wild one farm.
No, this is a question also. Is there an optimal place if you wanted to, you could take them outside of town if this did come to fruition where you can't have them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's, we don't wanna, we're just trying to,
Yeah, it is
Educate
very
ourselves.
hard on them to move them.
Yes,
and
it is.
lose a lot.
this time of the year especially.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
You know, but,
Thank you for your comments and all.
thank you.
That's all next.
So item 7C, removal of healthy trees within the city right away policy. I was approached by a person in the city who has a healthy tree in her front yard. I guess it's kind of a side yard. It's a very large tree. It appears to be healthy from what I understand. And this person wanted to remove that tree. That person indicated that branches fall on their property, leaves fall on their property, and that they're worried that if there's a strong storm, this tree might fall down into their house. The city's current policy and law is that we do not remove healthy trees. This person has offered to pay for the total removal. We're talking $3,000-$4,000 easily. And if the tree was to be removed, it would have to be replaced by at least one tree. This person has indicated that they would happily replace it with 2 trees. The reason I bring it to council is because this is one of those philosophical questions about why do we have policy and the rights of individuals versus the right of the state. Just having a general policy in favor of healthy trees is a good thing. On the other hand, individuals have to live with these trees on a daily basis. This tree is not in front of City Hall. And if it was in front of any one of your houses, you would probably want to have a bit of control of that tree as well. And so I leave it to council to, I guess, discuss and direct me as to whether we should allow people to remove a healthy tree, given that they replace it with other trees and all the other parts of the ordinance. It's a personal liberty question, and I'd like to direct.
Who would like to open it up? Go ahead, Ms. Nixon.
Well, so, this and these both for me fell under personal liberty versus how much control the state has. I'm having trouble coming to a decision. On one hand, having large trees in a community makes the community more beautiful. I bought my house because it has very large trees. It, in my personal opinion, helps property values. But I'm not sure that I could sit here and say that someone who's willing to pay to remove it themselves can't. I would feel sad at the loss of that tree. I'm not sure it's the right thing, but it's not my property. So I'm in a bit of a quandary. I don't know what else to say.
It's on city right away, so are you in favor or not? I guess to give direction.
Oh, Lord, I guess if I have to come down, if they're really willing to remove it and pay for it themselves, I guess I have to let them. It pains me, but I guess I have to.
Anyone else want to pick up?
Well, in addition to that, they're willing to pay for it, and we said that they wanted to put 2 trees in its place.
They
right?
have to under law.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so
they have
that-
to replace it with 1, they're offering to.
So at least they're not just saying they just want a tree to be gone and not contribute anything back to the environment. But my look at it is if I had a piece of property and I thought that this tree, in my mind, I thought the tree was going to fall on my house and I'm told I've got to keep it there against my will, I'm probably going to nag on a daily basis. And, you know, who wouldn't?
So you're in favor of allowing them to remove?
If, I'm not saying let's take all the trees out and put all saplings in all over town, but I'm thinking we should at least give them the courtesy, especially if it's a tall tree, big tree, where you could have it come down in a windstorm. We tell them, you've got to keep it there and it falls on their house. Will there be a liability if their insurance company says, well, city said, to keep it, so the city's liable.
The court's decision, but you're saying yes?
Yeah, I,
Think, Mr. Gross, you had a flicker of your hand come up?
Yes, I did. My concern is it's a healthy tree, and why would we remove it? All of us have branches that fall in our yards. All of us have leaves that fall in our yards. It messes them up. Every fall I get upset because the neighbor's leaves fall in my yard. And I rake them up also. I am more than content with having larger trees simply because of the beauty of them. You can put a new tree in, it's going to take a while to begin to even grow into something that is there. Why take something that's natural and remove it just because there's a fear? If there's fears on anything, that tree, any tree in the city could come down at any time and damage something. We can't go cutting them all out because they might. I really think the health factor of the tree should be brought into it.
Thank you.
And without further information, I can vote yes or no.
I believe this is the only large tree on that street.
It hurts me a lot.
Mr. Clark,
How close is the tree to the house?
it's in the right of way, on the very edge of the right of way.
And how close is the house to the right of way?
What we had 20, 30-foot setback.
Well, I thought it was in the house, and probably,
The answer is I did not measure it.
It's the one I think it is. It sets back a ways, but there's probably a 30-foot setback at least minimum.
the branches are over the house, or
Yeah.
it fell and it reached the
Oh,
house.
oh yeah.
Is it like the
I
ground
believe
is
it's a
given?
large oak tree.
Is it large oak?
I don't remember, right? But it's
If I felt like that it was a real concern, that there was something that made them feel like the tree was imminently going to fall in the house, and I would say that it's a healthy oak tree. It takes so long for them to grow.
not knowing the health or what the tree is, it's hard to say one way or another on a date. It's approximately this big around, it's the one I'm thinking.
About 16-inch diameter.
So it's, you know, as it reaches maturity or is it close to it, who knows? We don't have that data.
On another tack, do we indicate to the homeowners what kind of trees they would have to put in their place, put in their place?
I think we have a listing of appropriate trees.
I mean, I would hate to see them just put in an ornamental.
I guess yes or no would be the answer.
Yes or no?
Which one?
No, I can't answer that right. Right now, I have to say no. I have no votes.
Mrs. Powell, you're in the hot seat.
Well, I love to argue with the trees also, but I do know that they're kind of scary when the wind starts whipping around. And I think as a homeowner, you're responsible for that property on the other side of the sidewalk to mow and keep it nice. So as a homeowner, I think that they should probably have the right to keep their front yard the way they want to. And, I hate to see a big tree go down, but two more will, before you know it, be blowing right up.
I guess in years, the city's policy was not to remove a healthy tree. I know the city has spent thousands of dollars trimming dead wood out of trees for years within the city right of way. And yet we've had trees we've had to remove from people's front yards. They were very upset because they felt they were still nice, mature trees, but they were a danger. I guess the real dilemma for me is it truly a healthy tree? You know, if it is allowed to be removed, you know, I would want it to have a minimum size to be replanted. And I'm not sure what that size is, the diameter of the trunk.
We could obviously talk to DPW and see
Yeah,
what makes appropriate.
and then, you know, replace it with them. On the other hand, you know, the homeowner is very concerned that it may blow over. She's tired of picking up branches. The branches are falling out of the tree. So that is some indication of health, I would think.
Mr. Hall, if I could interject for a second.
Yes,
It seems like the board is fairly split,
Yes.
considering that we don't have Ms. Townsend with us.
yes.
What might be appropriate is for me to ask the homeowner to come back with presentations of more distance, how far it is from the house, how big it is, any indications that she has that it might be unhealthy. Because I don't want this board making a decision on something like this without complete information. Part of the reason I kept you guys a little bit in the dark on this is I don't want to bring any negative pressure onto the homeowners themselves. But if the council split, maybe I can see if we can bring some more anonymous information or just more information so you guys can make a decision.
I was gonna recommend that also, that because we had the absence of Mrs. Conley and it is an emotional or traumatic experience or whatever, which way you wanna do it to make that decision, I think it gives us all a little more time to chew on it a little bit and get more information.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'll add an anecdote. A few years ago, a friend of mine, her mother, in her 80s at that time, just could not stand waking up the locust leaves. And if you have locusts in your yard, you know the little tiny leaves, especially the honey locust,
I have one.
you have them. Hard to rake, little tiny thing. So she decided, and it was in the right of way, city right of way, cut it down about a 6-inch honey locust. She did. And she got in big trouble with the
Yes.
city, and perhaps rightly so. And I think she replaced it. I can't remember what variety tree it was, but it was like 2 or 3 inch diameter tree. But anyway, that's the past.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I should point out, before anyone gets an idea, if somebody does cut down a tree that's in the city's right of way without permission, it can cost them tens of thousands of dollars to replace.
I believe they call it 3 times the stumpage
Oh, no.
value. So, it can be costly, and we want to make sure we do it right, and I think the best thing is when Mrs. Conley is here, we can have another lengthy discussion. Moving on, I guess, Mr. Romack.
So this one should be a little bit easier. We had this in front of the planning commission 2 days ago. They seemed generally in favor of it. Of course, 2 people were there, so you can tell me otherwise if you think. An escrow policy. So we do have a current problem, and we've had problems in the past with individuals who will approach the city on a site plan application. They will cause the city to pay the city planner, the city attorney, the city engineer, funds of money to do their plan work, and then if their plan fails, the city is sometimes stuck with that bill. An escrow policy makes sure that they provide money to the city up front, which thereafter the city withdraws money from that money to pay their bills for them. And it allows the city a modicum of control over any debts that might be incurred. I hope I provided you guys with the information I gave the planning commission. Yeah, I did. Okay, so you see 6 or 5 options here of the language you see from other cities. I think it's a good idea. I think the planning commission was in favor of it. And if you guys are generally in favor of it, I will start working on a policy for us.
I think it's a great idea. And we have a lot of interest out on the White Creek corridor, and we get people calling our planner and stuff, and the meter starts. And then how do we recoup that after the person decides to leave? And this, we can direct them to that. I mean, it'd save us some money.
This is one of those growing pains of going from a small farming community to a burgeoning medium-sized city.
So what are we thinking with maybe like the minimum escrow amount? Would it depend on different factors, or?
I haven't done a lot of reading into what other communities do. I'll just provide you a couple of examples. It seems to be $1,500 would be the down payment amount. And then when you start subtracting from there, when it gets down to $500, they then have to replenish it up to, say, $1,500. And that way there's always money available to offset the debts that are incurred. But,
Page 38.
it's a cost of doing business.
And they get what they don't spend, refund.
Sure, sure.
If I may make a comment, I'm a little bit surprised we didn't have it in the past. If it's not, it's past due, and we should have it.
I believe in the past we did, but it kind of faded away. I can remember that when it developed, there was an exorbitant amount of money presented, and then, I don't know why, but it went away. So I think we need to resurrect it, for sure.
Then I will correct my statement. Since it was in the past, it should have been adhered to, and it needs to return.
And that's where we're at now. Can't find the record, but that's history.
The builders have to put up a bond, the bond insurance, whatever it is.
Well, they have a performance bond that's out of ours, but this would be just to handle ours.
But I'm saying it's the same concept.
Yeah, it's the
It's
same
not
concept.
me.
Exactly.
It's just to make sure they got the money.
This is cash in hand. It's presented to us directly.
Any concern?
Do we make a difference between a large project or a small project financially to determine how much money they
Yeah, that's something I'll have to look into, because there's obviously a difference between a $5,000 renovation and a $10 million building.
That we'll discuss at the planning commission also.
If we can make some kind of a graduated system or percentage of the project,
The city manager is really looking forward to reading about that.
I bet you are, that'd be fun.
Reading program at the library.
I think we should have a section.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Let's go. Moving on then to item E.
I'm bringing this back to you. This would be the replacement for the current policy 12, which we've not been adhering to too well. But as you guys have seen, after 11 months of my presence, I do try to send you guys information as soon as I can. I do bring things back to you minimum 2 times when it's available to me. So I'd like to think I've gained your trust a little bit in that regard. This was discussed at length at the previous time. Again, this might be an appropriate thing for Ms. Conley to be part of.
Yeah.
At that time, she indicated she was not okay with a 2-person minority vote. She wanted a 1-person minority vote. So I presented both options. It would essentially be treated the way the consent calendar is treated now. I'm sorry, the consent agenda. Where the council could vote on things, but if one person had a problem with it, they could then remove it to a second time to be reviewed, a second time to be discussed. But again, it's not my policy to do that. So I want to present it to you again, just so you can see it again, and maybe bring it back next month for passage.
Thank you. Any comments? I think that's a good idea. We'll have Mrs. Conlon weigh in on it also.
I would be for the 1-person minority. I like that, but I would like Tim to be here.
I think that's because it's a major shift, and we would definitely need a lot of input, everybody familiar.
I think one unfortunate thing that happened, there was so much resistance to the Montgomery policy when we started it, that it was actually, this is my impression, it could be totally wrong, but my impression was that it was pushed over the limit, used all the time, even though in our discussion with the leadership at the time, we said, we can modify this. We don't have to use this for every situation. And we cut down a lot of items in a committee subcommittee. So we still end up using it way too much. So for example, we're talking about the library. We don't need to have that included. But because it wasn't actually pursued to say, you know what, we don't need to include it on this and this. We still need it on that and that. So it just kind of became this huge elephant in the room that we had to somehow get around every time we wanted to do something. And that was not its intent. As far as, I want to be clear on what the 1 or 2 person removal policy would be. So it would be that one person could actually move that item to the next meeting, or would that one person be able to create a vote from the council to move into that?
And so this is the reason I originally voted as a two-person minority, because I kind of feel like you shouldn't be held hostage by one individual. You should have at least support
Makes
from
sense.
one other person to show that you're not totally crazy. But it's my envisioning of how I wrote it, that one person could just say, we need to discuss this a second time, let's move to the next meeting, and that's the final part of the discussion.
Yeah. And I believe under Robert's Rule of Order, that is allowed. One person may remove or add anything from the agenda. And
With
over the-
consent.
Yeah. Over the years, we've grown, we've learned more, so I think it's time to take another look at this and we'll see where it goes.
And if you haven't read it, I do ask you to do read it. It is a little complicated. One of the main things is you cannot remove an item past when it would be important. And of course, the example I put in there is you can't vote on a picnic on, September 2nd and move it to September 5th with a vote.
Yeah,
That would
you
obviously
have to-
destroy the ability to hold a vote on it.
The benefit of the Ronnie Burlington policy is that if it were used correctly, it would automatically put items on a two discussion basis. This is a little less firm. It throws things into a lot more flexibility, but it could work.
Yeah, also Ronnie's plan was to be transparency to the audience or the residents,
That's right.
that they could see it before, unless it was just, the old adage was, open the door, the train rolls through.
Right.
So this gives the public a chance to look at it or view it before we actually acted on it, to get public comment at the next meeting. So it works both ways, but it can be cumbersome both ways.
That's why it needed to be tweaked and worked with instead of the, like I said, the passive management group. They weren't really interested in that. They wanted to make it feel like it was in the right. That was my impression.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion items we want to discuss before we move into action items? Hearing none.
I'm ready for
Mr.
some
Womack?
fun things. Ms. Newland, are you ready?
David,
If nobody has met Mr. Duke yet, this is Mr. David Duke, who will be our new Department of Public Works Director.
if you could raise your right hand. I, David Ducat, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the City Charter and Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Department of Public Works Supervisor to the best of my ability.
I will.
All right. Mr. Womack?
Yep. So as I stated at the beginning of the agenda, in an abundance of caution, I think we're going to hold a public hearing on this. It was discussed at the planning commission meeting. I don't think it's going to generate any kind of fuss, but just to make sure we're doing things right, I'd like to set this for public hearing at the next planning commission meeting. I'll bring it back to you guys in the next month, August.
Okay, we would want to have a motion to remove.
We already did that.
Table or table.
So we didn't even
I
remove
thought
that in
we
the
had taken
agenda?
it off the agenda.
I wanted to make
I guess
sure.
I didn't write what you did down.
Which removed from the agenda, I
It
thought.
was tabled from the agenda.
Okay, then we would need a motion or a vote on the table for that.
Thought that was included with the agenda.
You still have to take a vote on the table.
Let's move on. I'll make a motion to remove.
I make a motion.
You make a motion?
Oh, no, I make a motion to move on, but I'm sure that's not official, so go ahead.
I'll make a motion to take 8B off from the agenda and table it.
Second. Postpone. Tabling is for in the meeting. Postpone to the next meeting or.
Table it, or went to the next meeting. That's okay.
Okay, after a public hearing.
I support, I don't,
Is there a second? Yeah, okay, we'll move second, now discussion. I think we want to make sure we do this vote because it needs to have a public hearing, and we don't want to have any improprieties of invitations we may be trying to run through. That's why I asked to have it done the way it is. Everybody okay with that? Okay, there was a motion on the floor to remove the table for the next meeting of section 40-545. I will call a roll. Mr. Clark? Yes. Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon?
yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Hall votes yes. Moving on to item C.
Sorry, just going ahead here. Okay, so this one we actually did hold a public hearing on. There was some spirited discussion about it. I think there may have been a little misunderstanding. The person who spoke up during the meeting, we did have him come into City Hall. We discussed the matter with him. He seems to have changed his opinion. He seems to be in favor of it now. But the Planning Commission did weigh in on it, correct, Mr. Moore? And you have an opinion of what they said?
They were in favor of it. As far as any specific comments?
So they were in favor of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So my impression of it, and of course I wrote this, so my impression of what's going on here is you're increasing the number and types of businesses that can go into the MU district. When I reviewed it with the city planner, there were just not that many businesses that were allowed in that district, including an individual who wants to open up a commercial painting store in that district, and that is not currently allowed. There's also the, I think it's called the Cedar Cycle in that district, and that's not an allowed business, so it's currently not conforming, doesn't make it conforming. There's a couple other things this would allow. I think a brew pub is one of them. And they also allow professionals, insurance, attorneys, real estate agents to take one of the houses and convert it into an office space. So I think this is an overall good for the community and overall good for the district, and it increases the amount of businesses that can come into the community.
What's the will of the council?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Powell?
In the draft, it's
Page 60, 59,
Starts at 57.
58,
60, I'm not.
60? 60?
And MU mixed use.
Yes.
It says for contractors such as painters, plumbers, electrical, cement, machine shops, tool and die establishments. It all has special land use, not
Yes.
just permitted.
Yep, these were all the industrial uses. I thought it appropriate for the planning commission to be able to pass over these particular uses as a special land use, which just means it gives them a greater level of scrutiny. I didn't want to have a stamping plant or something that makes a tremendous amount of noise, vibration, odor going into a district that does still have residential uses.
Okay,
See, that's when we get the thin line, so to speak.
because you're combining the residential and.
Correct.
I get it.
Any other discussion, comments before I call the roll? Hearing none, roll call. Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Gross?
Yes.
Mr. Clark? Yes. Mr. Hall votes yes, motion carries. I only want to add, the potential occupant of one of the buildings is seated here this evening. They were one of the industrial painters for the library. Okay, moving on to item D, Mr. Womack.
Yep, so we discussed this last time. This is the parking ordinance. I did change a few minor things to bring it in line. There's conflict in some of the other ordinances. But essentially what this does is it gives our sheriff's department the ability to impound or immobilize vehicles that have accumulated a number of parking tickets. It's usually once or twice per year that we have a vehicle that just refuses to move off Main Street, particularly during a snow event, which obviously causes problems with our DPW cars as they try to move snow. I understand that some of these individuals live in apartments on Main Street, and they would rather just pay the $10 tickets as opposed to moving their vehicles. So this increases, I apologize, we increased the parking fines as part of the budget. So those are now, I believe, $20. This would make it so the sheriff's department can immobilize or take away a vehicle that's accumulated, I believe, 4 tickets.
The will of the council.
I would like to make a motion to approve, or excuse me, to amend sections 36 through 85, the penalty of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, Michigan.
His second reading.
That's second reading.
Second. Pass. Okay. Who seconded that?
Harry.
Okay, Mr. Hopkins. Okay, been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on this?
How much is one of those debt includes costs? Move? Yeah, one. Is that all we need? Yeah, we should just move on. I don't, this is something we do on a daily basis.
County's got a lot of them.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions or discussions?
Record.
Oh, it's down.
What I can't understand is that it's got 4 tickets, and it's parked on city stuff, and it's in the way of moving snow. Why would we boot it instead of just hauling it around?
This gives the option of both.
This allows us to.
Okay. Got it.
Any other good questions?
This is civil offense? Okay, not just a local. So they go, the tickets go to the 63rd district, or are they handled in-house here?
The citations, the parking citations are handled in-house
Okay.
until they're not.
Okay.
So at some point at the end of the winter, essentially letters are sent out, and then people that don't pay their rent go to district court.
Okay.
So at this point, this would be in-house citations.
Okay. That's fine, that's what I was curious about.
Any further questions? Roll call. Mr. Hopkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon.
Yes.
Mr. Grove.
Yes?
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Ms. Hall votes yes, motion carries.
Item E, ordinance to amend chapter 2, membership. This is the planning commission membership. The current membership is 9 members, and the ordinance is to reduce it down to 7 members. Currently, we only have 8 members. We did lose 1, and we anticipate losing 1 or 2 more members in the future. Ms. Newland did put together some advertisements for us in the post on our city's Facebook page, trying to attract some individuals. I do have an application sitting in front of me from an individual who might be interested.
Great.
My recommendation, and this is the same recommendation I made to the planning commission 2 days ago, is to, as Mr. Clark corrected me, not table it, but to remove it, and maybe bring it back in November if it becomes a bigger issue at that time.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to remove.
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Oh.
How did the planning commission feel about that? Were they?
They were split. Majority of them, they still like the 9 members, but they understand it's hard to get anybody to come forward to commit to stay with the 9. There's a lot of communities run 7, and we are probably one of the few that are at 9. We used to be at 7, and it went up to 9, so it's a back and forth. So they were all in favor of basically trying to get some more people. If we can't, then we would have to go to 7.
And you could go to 7 down the road if they had plenty of people that could go to 9.
We can go back up. So it's not that we'll stay at 7 forever. It's if they can be requested, we get people coming on board, by all means, we can raise it back up to 12. if you wish, you know, the more input, the better. Okay, any other? It's getting late, that's why I'm a little quiet.
That's fine, I'm in favor of that.
Roll call, Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Groves,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon,
Yes.
Ms. Powell.
Yes.
Ms. Powell votes yes, motion carried. And this is a good one, item
Motion to approve the library summer reading program community event application. This did come to me late. You will have to wait also 12. This event has been held a number of times in the past. Matter of fact, I believe this is the event where I met Mr. Hall last year. And I believe we'll probably both be out there pumping some popcorn. If it's approved. If it's approved. So I'll leave it to you.
I would like to make a motion to waive policy 12 and approve the library summer reading program community event application.
Second. Okay, it's been moved in second. Any further discussion on this?
No, I like the way Molly did that.
Yes.
She did it, we didn't have to have two separate motions.
So there was one
Were
motion.
you primed to do that, Molly?
I am getting
You
tired.
ready to go home?
I am.
Anyway, well done.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, sign no. Motion carries. Now this comes up to item G, Mr. Olex.
And poor Mr. Larrabell has been sitting there all evening. I apologize. He appears in front of City Council to seek final plat review and approval from City Council. He'll probably explain much better than I can, but he's got the paperwork he needs signed, and council will have to approve that paperwork. As I indicated before, unfortunately, the city attorney didn't finalize his review until this morning. And he did have some problems with legals that were sent to us, so he redrafted them, sent them back. I reviewed them. I think they're appropriate at this point. And so council can approve this, subject to their acceptance of the city attorney's redraft. But Mr. Larrabell may have another option, so I think we should let him talk.
Okay, for the sake of discussion or anything, would we want to entertain a motion to?
At least open it to discussion.
Entertain a motion to this effect?
So open discussion?
No, on the motion.
Yeah,
Discussion
is
comes
the
back to-
motion,
I need a motion on the floor to discuss.
Yeah, motion to approve final
Got a
plat
second by
review.
Mr. Clark. Moved in second. Discussion. Mr. Larrabell, would you please?
Yeah, my name is Dan Larrabell. I work with Alan Edwin Holmes. We're at 795 Clyde Byron Center. I want to thank you guys for your time tonight. I'm reviewing the final plat review for Prairie Run North. It's 33 single-family homes. We're excited to start building. It looks like we're going to be digging our next foundation next week. This is the first step in the plat review process, the final plat review process. It's going to see a lot of eyes, the Cook County Drain Commission, the state of Michigan, the treasurer, the county plat board, and as Mr. Womack just pointed out, the city attorney did review the documents. I had a chance to go through them briefly today, and the revisions that seem minor, and it was the easement language, and I'm happy to address it, and we'll get revised to the satisfaction of the attorney. So we paved in mid-June. We're excited to start building. With your approval tonight, it'll just the sooner we get approval, the sooner we will get our final reporting, which I'm targeting for the end of August right now. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Any questions of Mr. Larrabell from the commission?
just quick one. So to be very clear, you are agreeable to the language that our city attorney has sent back?
Correct. There was actually some blanks that looked like they needed to be filled in.
That was information that we didn't have. We figured we would discuss it and make sure that we have the correct information put into those.
Okay.
So I guess, I hate to do this to council, but it's going to be subject to a number of provisos that you can approve it, subject to those provisos. But, they sit down with me and make sure that the correct information is filled into the blanks. I think there's cotter pins that need to be taken care of.
Just a few loose ends there, that's correct.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's just the steps. I think the motion was made that we would approve this on contingency of our attorney's approval.
And the cotter pins being placed in. I know Mr. Larabelle has worked that out, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
But if you approve it, I would ask you to make it subject to those.
All right.
That was the way that when we voted on the agenda, that's what we said was in there, right? That it was going to be.
It would be contingency. I guess, Mrs. Nixon or Newland, would you read the motion so everybody's familiar, well, all parties concerned of what would be required?
The motion that was made at the beginning of the meeting to amend the agenda was a motion to approve the final plat review for Prairie Run North contingent attorney redraft.
Everybody okay with that? Everybody's on the same page, I guess.
Okay,
that's
good.
what-
It might be appropriate to amend it to include the cotter pins. Sorry, Mr. Duquette, is that appropriate, cotter pins?
Yeah, cotter pins that would be attached to all of our curb stop boxes.
And you would, yeah.
Which they're already going to do, but I just think it's appropriate to add it in.
I amend my motion to have that.
Okay,
I second the amendment.
great. Okay, good. Any discussions further, Mr. Larabelle, or any questions or concerns?
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing the new home.
Yes. I know he has a lot of steps to the county to accept the plat, all that hasn't happened yet, and then that gives you the green light to build. Okay, hearing no further discussion, I'll do a roll call vote on the the motion with the amendment. Mrs. Newland, would you read that for everybody's clarification?
Motion to approve final plat review and approval for Prairie Run North contingent attorney redraft and cotter pin added to curb boxes.
That's correct. When they're digging, I'm sorry, I should have elaborated, but when they're digging the foundations for the new homes, at that point in time, that's when they're going to correct the problem that was missed before to put the cotter pins with rods in the curb stop box.
I know exactly what you're talking about too, but Mr. Hopkins, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, you got it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion,
I know what a cotter pin is.
I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Groves,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Hall votes yes, motion carried. I believe we're on item H.
So this came up from my deputy finance director, who is still present with us, thank you, Mr. Smith. So it gave you our understanding that some of our miscellaneous receivables were not being paid promptly. Our current policy, I believe, is that they're due and owing immediately. This would bring us in line with some of our other water bills. That would add a 10% late fee after 30 days if it's not paid. From what I understand, this is common amongst other municipalities, and Mr. Smith stands ready to answer questions if you have them.
Yes, Kristen, what's the will of the council?
Okay, well, let's do that first then. I would like to make a motion to approve the policy to have 10% late fee on miscellaneous receivables not paid within 30 days.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion.
Thank you. So this would not affect receivables that already have a late fee, such as the water bill?
No.
Okay, so this is only,
Come on, buddy.
Only for
At the podium. Give your name and address.
Now, this is only for miscellaneous receivables that I generate. Typically, some of those would be lawn mowings, so they could be as far as clean up with an oil spill that the fire department had, or something that has to do with the cemetery. So,
okay, so this is not anything that anyone would
Nope.
receive a bill on a regular basis. This would not be added to
No.
minutes. Okay, oh, very good.
Any further discussion or concerns or questions? Thank you. Been moved and seconded. No further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed sign no. Motion carried. Item I.
So I drafted this just recently, and I've not had the city attorney look at it yet. Obviously, we'll bring it back in another month. Mr. Hall and I were up at Morley Park at the pavilion, scouting it out for the electricity, which we've talked about recently, and we're still working on. And we noticed that there were about 10,000 cigarette butts all over that pavilion area.
Yes.
We have, I believe, discussed this in the past, and I believe Mr. Nixon had some things to say about it then, and probably will now. And there are some issues with smoking in the parks. In addition to young lungs taking in secondhand smoke, we also have cigarette butts, which have not been deposited correctly in a trash receptacle. Another issue, and maybe Mr. Sergeant Kelly can talk about, is that we have people loitering there, smoking cigarettes all day, and I guess causing problems in that way. I think it's an appropriate thing to do. You would obviously set up designated areas for people to smoke in, and you would provide them a location to put their butts when they're done at that designated location. But this is the philosophy of how to take care of public parks.
Okay, for the sake of discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to amend Chapter 4, alcohol, liquors, the Code of Ordinances of the City of Cedar Springs, Michigan, in regards to prohibiting smoking in public parks.
Just remember, point of order,
Are we supporting?
if you're making the vote, if you're making the motion, then you have to vote for it.
There you go.
Is that not how they told us at the, when Commissioner Valley was here?
You've been doing it for the sake of discussion.
Well, and at this point, it's an ordinance, so you can't pass it right now anyways.
Yes.
So I guess it might be better to call it a discussion item. You want to make a motion to discussion item?
I would make a motion to discuss an ordinance, I don't even know. I'd make a motion to discuss that.
Go.
Okay.
Second.
Ms. Clark, then move the second to discuss this ordinance amendments. Now we're in discussion.
Okay. So as,
Go ahead,
if I may.
you're up.
So as probably the last one up here that's dumb enough to still be smoking. I don't smoke in the park. I don't. There's kids around, there's other people who don't smoke, and I make it a point to never inflict my choice on other people. If I don't smoke in the park, I guess they don't get to either.
Short and quick. Any others?
Yeah, I got it. So when you say park, you saying all parks?
If you read it, I did indicate the specific parks that it presently would apply to, and I gave some indication to how the council or administration would delineate which parks could have been smoked at. But for the time being, I listed all the public parks in the city of Cedar Springs.
So the guy that walks down the sidewalk with his dog every day smoking a cigar, he can't go in the park with his dog because he's got a cigar?
Under this ordinance, no, it would not be allowed.
That's, that's the thing, there may not be kids in the park during the day, and he may put his cigar butt in his pocket every day and he takes it home. And I'm not talking about me because I don't have a dog. But there is a guy, and every day, well, sometimes it's his wife, and then he walks by himself, but he walks our town, he goes all over, and he smokes a cigar. And you're telling him he can't take his dog in the park if he wants to smoke a cigar. And if you're talking about in the dog park, there's plenty of spaces where there's non-around kids. You told him you can't smoke in public buildings, which I can understand. Inside is a lot different than smoking outside.
Well, we would designate smoking areas in the park. There would be, Mr. Womack said that there would be designated.
I'd be more comfortable just making our littering fee a little higher and have signs saying that. If you're too big of a butt to put your butts where they're supposed to go, you should pay them.
Anyone else? Mr. Clark?
Well, I commend the initiative that wants to clean up cigarette butts. I hate picking up cigarette butts. And I also commend the health issue, trying to protect people from smoking in the area where especially young people are. or anybody that doesn't smoke.